And welcome back to EDH Deck Building. I am your host, Demo, and we are building janky decks in Commander. And this time I got a real doozy. I guess they're all real doozies, to be quite honest. But this one is particularly difficult because we are building around the Grandeur ability. This ability was originally printed in Future Sight, and it really is a great ability. You know, not in Commander. In other formats where you're allowed other copies of stuff and you want to play 4 of, like a lot of people in other formats like Modern will only put 3 of a legendary creature in their deck because you can't play them at the same time, obviously. So putting 4 in your deck increases the chance that you'll get more than 1, which means 1 is just sitting in your hand that you can't play it. It sort of becomes a dead card. The Grandeur ability was a solution to that issue, which I really, really like. So what you do is basically you discard a card with that name. So if you have your Lanessa or if you have your Korlash, for example, you can discard the one you have in your hand because you can't play it anyway, and then you get some ability off of it. And in the case of Lanessa, target player returns a creature he or she controls to owner's hand, then repeats this process for artifact, enchantment, and land. That's pretty fantastic. And Korlash, when you discard a card with his name, you can search your library for 2 swamp cards and put them into play tapped. These to me are the cards with the best Grandeur abilities. Korlash gives you fantastic ramping, and Lanessa gives you really almost a game-ending ability. Also, Lanessa can pay X blue and tap return target creature with mana value X to owner's hand, so that's a usable ability. And Korlash, of course, is going to have power and toughness each equal to the number of swamps you control, and has regenerate. That's pretty formidable as well. And of course, the reason I'm talking about these 2 so much is because these are the 2 that I built the deck around. And yes, I did not go the route of my Commander has the Grandeur ability. I didn't think that was the best way to do it. You could do it that way. It's really, really tough. I think the best way to use a Grandeur ability is a combination of I create a token copy of the Grandeur creature, which of course you have to do. You have to have that copy in play, and you also have to have the original in your hand, right? The only way this works is if you have the original in your hand, and then you have to have a token copy or some sort of copy on the battlefield so that you can then discard it to that ability. And then also, you don't want to do it just once. 1 discard, not going to end the game. That's not very exciting. You want to be able to do it repeatedly. And in order to do that, you want to get these guys back from your graveyard over and over again. And of course, black is the best way to do that. So I thought, okay, blue makes copies of things really, really well. Black gets stuff out of the graveyard really, really well. And we have what I consider to be the 2 best Grandeur abilities in the blue and the black version. So blue and black is what I went with. So of course we need a commander for this deck, and I went with Sakashima of 1,000 Faces and Tormod the Desecrator. This is what partner commanders, of course, are great for when you're trying to build around a particular theme. Obviously, Sakashima of 1,000 Faces can do clone copies of our commanders. Now, they're not going to die, so we're going to have to bounce them to our hand, obviously, because the legend rule doesn't apply if Sakashima is in play. So the way I engineered this deck is if Sakashima's in play, we can take advantage of the fact that our legend rule doesn't apply. If it's not in play, we can take advantage of that. There's certain cards that work with certain different scenarios. Tormod is just, there's a lot of graveyard recursion, right? So that's going to be stuff leaving our graveyard, and it's going to give us those 2/2 zombie tokens every time we do so. So I thought it really fit the theme. So first things first, we got to get those 2 cards, Lanessa and Korlash, in play. Dimir House Guard and Clutch of the Undercity. I love Transmute. I say it all the time. These are both 4 mana value, so we can go get both of our secret commanders with these. Again, both of them are 4 mana value, so another added bonus to the way I built this deck is we can get either of them with Dimir House Guard or Clutch of the Undercity. And of course, I gotta put Flesh Writher in here. Another one of my all-time favorite abilities is Transfigure, and this is the only card that does that, and it is 4 mana value. I mean, everything just comes together really, really nicely. Once my Flesh Writher's in play, I can pay 1 black, and go grab either my Lanessa or Korlash and put it directly onto the battlefield, which is what we want. I also got Venelkin Aether Mage in here. I mean, this is almost a Future Sight sort of reunion, this deck. There's a lot of cards from that set that are fitting this theme. Venelkin Aether Mage has the very unique ability of Wizard Cycling, right? You never play this card. I don't know if anyone has ever actually played it. It has Flash, and when it enters the battlefield, you return target Sliver to owner's hand. Yeah, I don't know how usable that is. The Wizard Cycling is very usable. usable because we can pay 3, discard it, and go get a wizard out of our library and put it in our hand. That's our Lanessa. We can't get Korlash with this one, but we can get our Lanessa, and there's a couple other wizards in this deck that are going to be important that we can go grab. Another really important thing we want to be doing is copying those abilities, right? Rings of Bright Hearth, Lithoform Engine. This way, if we only can just discard the once, now we can copy it so we can get 2 abilities out of it. This is another way we can take advantage of that. Illusionist Bracers as well. This is an activated ability. That Grandeur ability is an activated ability, right? The activation cost being discarding that card. So when we activate it, we're going to be able to copy it and do it again. So that's also going to be really important here. We are going to be limited, obviously, on the amount of times we can discard a single card from our hand. So being able to copy abilities is going to be really important. Of course, as I mentioned, we got to be copying those creatures when they're in play so that we can then return them to our hand. So Cackling Counterpart's one of my personal favorites. Spark Double obviously will work here as well. This one, again, just like our commander, doesn't copy the legendary, right? So with a Cackling Counterpart, we're going to cast it, copy our Lanessa or Korlash. They'll die because we'll have a copy that is legendary, assuming, again, we don't have our Sakashima or our Spark Double. They'll die and go to the graveyard, which is okay, because then we can get them out of the graveyard and return to our hand because we have lots of effects like that. So that will work. It all depends on the cards you have in play. If we have our Erratic Portal in play, now we want the Spark Double, right? Because our Erratic Portal, we can return target creature to owner's hand unless its controller pays 1, which of course we're not going to do. So now we can play our Spark Double or our Sakashima, copy one of our secret commanders, our Grandeur commanders, and then return the original one to our hand so that we can then discard it. Supplant Form is probably the best way to do this. This is really the only way I think that you can do a mono blue Lanessa deck. This works with the Lanessa deck if you didn't want to do a 2-color version here. Because you're going to pay 4 blue and return target creature to owner's hand, you put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of that creature. So this is the only card that really truly works with the Grandeur ability, I think, because you can bounce your Lanessa or Korlash or whatever to your hand, then create that token copy, and then of course it's in your hand, so now you can discard it and use that ability. Again, only a one-shot, but it definitely works here. Got to be getting them out of our graveyard, obviously, so Phyrexian Reclamation is the best option here. Tortured Existence will work as well. These are repeatable ones. Phyrexian Reclamation's probably the best way because we just have to pay the 2 and 2 life, whereas Tortured Existence, we have to discard a creature card out of our hand, which of course we're going to have creature cards in our hand in order to do this. Tortured Existence, though, as an added bonus, also combos with our commander, right? Tormod, let's not forget about him. When we're returning these creatures to our hand all the time, we're going to be creating a 2/2 zombie as an added bonus, and Tortured Existence combos really well with Tormod and swap creatures back and forth. So for every 1 black you pay, you get that zombie token. And, you know, if we get into a situation where maybe our opponents are all over us and we need blockers or something, that's why I like Tormod in this deck. He just throws blockers up in the way. We can just take a turn to throw a bunch of zombies in play with Tortured Existence and Tormod, and then we can get back to our game plan, right? Reaping the Graves is another fantastic fit here. 2 and a black, instant, return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand, but has Storm. And of course, because it's an instant, we can do this at any time. If an opponent goes off and casts 5 or 6 spells, we can then cast this in response. We are discarding, so again, that's another theme that fits in this deck. So we got to put all of the usual suspects for that theme, like Archfiend of Ifnir and Bone Miser. These are both going to be great. They're just giving us value out of the discarding we're doing, right? This is a discard theme. The Grandeur ability is a discard ability. I got Big Game Hunter in here as well, and Grave Scrabbler. I mean, don't forget, we got Tortured Existence that we can discard our Big Game Hunter to, and then just cast it for 1 black mana, so that fits really, really well. Grave Scrabbler, of course, is fantastic because we can discard it for its madness cost, pay the 1 and a black, put it in play, and then when it enters the battlefield, its madness cost was paid, we can return a creature from our graveyard to our hand. So perfect fit in the deck, I think. I really like that this is a 2-color version of the deck, so again, I can choose my Lanessa or my Korlash depending on where I'm at, right? If it's early in the game and maybe I want to do a lot of ramping, I go get my Korlash. If it's later in the game and I want to close it out, I get my Lanessa. I really like this deck a lot. It's lots of fun. I think it works pretty darn well, to be quite honest. I really like the commanders, Tormod and Sakashima. I think they really fit well with what we're doing here. So this is not as fringe of a deck as the Grandeur ability is very janky, no question about it. I mean, mean, we're talking about card names here. That's always not a good thing to do in Commander, but this is not a fringe deck. I really think this is a deck that you can really hang in there in like a 5 to 7 power range and do just fine. But the deck list for this one is in the description below, of course, as usual. Give it a spin. I hope you enjoy it, but that is it for today, and thanks for tuning in.